Hi, everybody. This is Trey Stewart, the Republican leader in the Maine State Senate, joined here today by my good friend and colleague, Senator Marianne from Washington County.
Yes.
She's an 8-year veteran on the Health and Human Services Committee. We're glad that you're able to join us here this week for another edition of the Legislative Republican Vision Series.
Great. Thank you, Trey.
So, Senator Moore, like I said, you've been on the Health and Human Services Committee for 8 years. They cover a lot in that committee and certainly manage a lot of money in that committee. Chief among those programs is Medicaid, otherwise known as MaineCare. So tell us a little bit about what's happening, what the latest is as it relates to that program, particularly in the upcoming budget.
It's very, very frustrating, Senator Stewart, to be honest with you. They have, instead of trying to find ways to reduce the numbers of people that are on MaineCare and cut back on the cost, they just keep increasing it and increasing it. So if you've got people that are constantly being placed on MaineCare, then maybe there's something that we need to do to get them off of MaineCare and reduce our numbers. Our numbers are crazy. So we're still continuing to see the increases. They continue to see the spending. It's just out of control, I feel like, in the state.
So to that point, it's over 400,000 people in the state are on Medicaid, about a third of our entire population. And yet we're seeing costs just completely take off, no enrollment reduction that was supposed to happen. And now, because of federal oversight, a lot of fraud is being exposed throughout that system as well. So not only are we putting too many people on that program on the front end, then on the back end, we're not even managing the system well for making sure that when we do cut a check to a provider, that they even exist. So can you talk to me a little bit about what's happening as it relates to accountability in that program?
When I look at the fraud and abuse department, there really is not enough people that are able to look at it. I believe they have 24 people, and we have over, I forget the numbers, but we have over 3,000, I think, vendors. And in my thought, you look at who's getting the most reimbursements, get you a spreadsheet and start going right down there and start looking at them. They're not doing the investigations like they should be looking at, seeing who's actually doing it, and yet they continue to spend, they continue to budget. They're not looking at, they're not even thinking about including in the budget monies should the federal government try to recoup some of the funding that's already being looked at.
And we know that the feds are going to be taking some of that money back.
Yes.
So whatever the Democrats in the legislature are teeing up to spend now is doing so without that clawback even being factored in. So they're spending money that they don't have right now to expand that program even more.
And that's what we are seeing. That's what we keep asking. Those are the questions that we keep asking. Yesterday we were talking about the budget, and they want to add 35 people to get the error rate down for SNAP recipients. And it's like, wait a second, why do you need additional people? Well, we're going to have to really take a look at it, and we're going to have to really question this. We should already be doing that. It's just that they're not looking at the possibilities of fraud. They're just spend instead of trying to say, well, how can we cut back? You know, we're talking about the work requirement. They're also talking about having to add, I think, 44 people, because we're going to have to check to make sure that they're getting their, they're doing the work that they need to be doing, or that they have the exemption that they're allowed to have. It's just, and it's things I think should have already been done. We've always promoted anyone that is on MaineCare should be, if they're able-bodied adults, to be able to work. We're not talking about someone on disability and some mom with a bunch of kids. We're talking about able-bodied adults should always have been required to work. So this is not asking a lot, but oh my gosh, you would think we've asked the department to recreate the world or something.
The fact that they can't repurpose some of these positions that are in there, a lot of which are in fact vacant, we could repurpose those funds to make sure that folks who, to your point, right, able-bodied young adults without dependents, no disabilities, that, my age, right, that should be doing something with their lives, are in fact doing that if they're then receiving public assistance on the back end. Thankfully, the federal government seems to be moving forward with this requirement for states that's going to sort of force that. Senator Moore, thank you for all of your hard work on the committee. We're lucky to have you there, and appreciate your joining us here to talk about the Republican vision for what the future of the state could look like. One where we don't have our public assistance funds going to foreign countries to fund Somali warlords, but going towards the most needy that really need it, and one that provides a hand up to folks, but also comes with the responsibility that they do something with their lives,
Right.
whether that's working or going to school or volunteering in their community.
Absolutely. And that's why it's so important that we Republicans continue to ask the important questions. And we do get a lot of hem and haw going. So that's why it's been a pleasure to be on the committee. Sometimes they're long hours, but it has been a pleasure to be able to really try to ask those questions and make sure we're good stewards of the money that our taxpayers are paying.